honestly, I really like all these people talking about, oh my God, Taylor Swift. They were not alive for Thriller. They were not alive for Black and White. They were not alive for the video. This was like, you marked your calendar. It was Saturday, 8 p.m. We're not going to the club till we see this.
We had to get in front of our TVs. There was no waiting. There was no recording it to watch later. We'd get there so we could watch the premiere of Black or White with Slash playing guitar. And it was a whole thing. And people, it was on the goddamn news. It was like watching the finale of MASH. It was a cultural event. I don't care how many people show up. And look, I like Taylor Swift. I don't care how many people show up.
Bless her little heart. Bless her little heart.
He is not take away any issues, whatever anyone wants to say about Michael Jackson as a person. Taylor Swift is not the phenomenon that Michael Jackson in the fucking 90s was.
Michael Jackson was an event.
Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and the baby from Dinosaur. You will never have any idea how popular these freaking things were.
I swear, all you had to say was, not the mama, lose everybody in class, loses a shit, the class is over, teacher can't teach, nothing is happening.
You see, these things, and I'm not trying to do these kids with their TikTok things, but I am being serious. TikTok trends become very popular, but they're also much more transient. They disappear so fast. Nothing against that, but holy shit, Michael Jackson, every time he did something, every premiere, every new album, I went and saw that short sci-fi movie of his in a theater.
Which one? Captain EO?
Captain EO.
I watched Captain EO at Disney.
Yeah.
Listen, Captain EO, you could not tell me anything. Captain EO, I mean, the fact that his shit was mini movies, 12 minute with beginning, middle, end. It was like you got your popcorn for this. You got whatever your parents paid for cable or whatever. You made sure them rabbit ears were tuned. You made sure the Jiffy Pop was ready. Because it was going to be amazing, and you and your friends were going to be reenacting the video for months, and the dances.
Everyone was trying to do the dances. There are
people still doing the Thriller dance. In at least every Black high school in the country, Halloween comes, at least one teacher gonna talk everybody into doing the Thriller dance. It's ritual. He has crossed over into ritual. I don't know if Taylor ever gonna hit that point where she'll become ritual.
And if she does, good for her. Yeah. But people saying, like, that whole thing where people are outside in the parking lot and you were saying something about like her being bigger than Michael Jackson. Like, no,
baby, no. No, baby, no. Just because you got a bunch of your little friends outside the link singing Bad Blood, good for you. I'm happy for you. But it is not 100,000 people outside a dude's hotel waiting for him to just wit and go, hi.
And dangle a baby over the balcony.
Not the baby, not blanket. Blanket ain't asked for all that. Like, listen. There are people who will listen to Paris Jackson singles just because that's how much they love her dad.
They're not bad, but I wouldn't give a shit who she is if it weren't for her dad.
Yeah, like basically, I have listened to Paris Jackson. She is passable. She is what she is. I understand.
And the music does not offend me, but also I've listened to it only once, and that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. Bless her little heart. She doing what she need to do. I mean, okay, hashtag van life. That is not a slam on her. That's just an accurate statement that's just a semi-accurate statement of the aesthetic she's giving. And I think it's cute. Well, I think it's very cute.
Let's talk about the aesthetics of abject failure. And let's talk about the congressional, or was it Senate, report on the Biden crime family, as well as the Durham report. On
and the
nothing apparently. So
how you lose a whole whistleblower?
I mean, you can't lose what never existed. Look, I'm going to be very sad, and I am going to feel bad if it turns out it's a real thing and the Biden crime family had them killed. I'll feel bad, but I'm not worried about that happening. It's just
I sense that there is no corpse hidden somewhere in the Susquehanna Valley with a rim of ice cream around, with a rim of poisoned ice cream around its mouth. I sense there is no corpse hidden somewhere in the wilds of Delaware.
So I think what's hilarious to me is that it just brings up shades of Benghazi. You have, how often did they complain about the Mueller report and the millions of dollars that were spent on it, even though, I mean, through fines and, seizures, brought in, they had a surplus. All that money spent on the Durham report, they got one plea of guilty for community service for a guy who basically didn't cross all the T's and dot all the I's on all the forms, but was a failure for the other two attempts at criminal convictions. And even what they're calling a victory, what Ben Shapiro and Sean Hannity are saying is this complete vindication, in that it shows that the FBI was wrong in opening an investigation. It wasn't a legal conclusion that they shouldn't have done it. It was It was a case of Durham going, if it were me, I wouldn't have done it.
Congratulations, Mr. Durham. All I gotta say is this: Ben Shapiro. If a man who cannot judge a woman's arousal is giving an assessment of victory, I don't want it. If a man that cannot judge a woman's arousal properly and mistakes it for an infection is giving an assessment of what victory looks like, I don't want it.
See, you did that when I was swallowing, and I got that thing where I tried to laugh. I basically was about to exhale while I inhaled. And I like when you feel like a golf ball goes
down, and it kind of hurts a little, and you're just
it hurts a lot.
And you're just fighting through that shit, trying not to choke.
It's your fault. It's your fault.
Sorry.
It's painful.
I know that shit mad. That shit is mad painful. And I'm sorry about it.
But man, sorry about it. They find no evidence of anything whatsoever in any of these investigations. Which, by the way, when it comes to Hunter Biden, like the guy, illegally bought a gun that he shouldn't have been allowed to buy. Yeah, charge him for that.
Isn't that something Billy Carter did? Didn't Billy Carter? Like, that sounds like some Billy Carter shit.
Nobody should be above the law. His nepotism shouldn't have been, he shouldn't have been allowed to get a job at these companies just because his name was Biden. But it doesn't implicate any law breaking. It just implicates the fact that this system is horseshit, and you shouldn't have, the children of a Biden or the children of a Trump being allowed to,
or Clinton be allowed to just allowed to have some make work sinecure, log in on Zoom once a month job.
Oh yeah, they're basically like the guys in The Sopranos sitting at the the beach chairs at the construction site, like, yeah, I'm working, but. Whatever Hunter Biden did, nobody has uncovered any illegality at all. And the most you can say is, aside from buying a gun he shouldn't have been allowed to buy, which is a crime, he should probably pay for that in some respect. So it hasn't implicated Joe, and we all know that, Hunter Biden is a bit of a fuck up. I mean, a lot of us are.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of us are.
Yeah.
I don't think that reflects really much of anything in comparison with what they've been promising.
All I know is
legality, pay for play, all this kind of
they
stuff.
They promised so much stuff. I'm like, then you might as well have just given me the Trumps if this is all if this is all I'm gonna get. Honestly, I just think this is all because Junior knows that if he were to ever admit to his coke habit and like have his pride broken and call Joe would would give him all the attaboys that Donald Sr. never gave him and point him in the direction of a decent rehab. I said what I said.
Yeah.
And that's
we know listen here, Jack. Listen here, Jack. You've got a bum rap in life with your dad there. But it's okay. Stick with me. I'll show you how to make...
But yeah, it's the case of like that. I think is something that keeps a lot of Republicans up at night, especially Don Jr. He knows that that's just what we're dealing with. We have a doddering, decent person, and I said doddering, and I meant the doddering. I said decent, and I meant the decent.
Here's the situation. They've been promising evidence of all the crimes that they have. Where is it?
Bitch,
Where is the evidence?
Bitch, I don't know.
They have the hard drive, so they should have all the stuff they keep telling us they have, but they don't.
I think all they have are dick pics. I think all they have are dick pics and some dick pics planted and some rough drafts of paintings. That's all they got. Dick pics and paintings. And so they're trying to make something out of it.
Larry Kudlow brought this up with Ron Johnson. And basically it was like, you've got all these evidence. No one's actually fingered Biden for a crime. He said fingered like 4 times. He said fingered Biden like 4 times. No one has ever fingered Biden in any of these crimes, which, yeah, fair point. Yeah. Nobody has. But like, seriously, it's ridiculous. Ron Johnson's response, well, that's, the nature of investigating crime.
Didn't Ron Johnson, wasn't he one of them people that spent 4th of July in Russia?
I don't think so. I don't think it was him.
Sure? Because I think we talking Ron Johnson, like Wisconsin Ron Johnson?
To the best of my knowledge, I don't know. I don't think so. But,
let's find out for sure.
But either way, his response was, that people who commit crimes cover it up. And I'm like, okay, Ron, is he a basically addle-brained senior with Alzheimer's, or is he a criminal mastermind? You've got to be able to have some.
Pick one.
They constantly bring back to the fact that there's some mention of this, the big guy. Okay. That's not like. I'm sorry, but that's not evidence of anything. You just want the big guy to be Biden.
Yeah. I'm checking now.
And look, I'm not a Biden person.
Of course not.
I don't love the man. But goodness, it comes back to that sort of mental disease. And I use that on purpose because they love talking about things like woke mind rightness and Rush Limbaugh's liberalism is a mental
disorder and Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, because I remember originally it was Bush derangement syndrome like 25 years ago.
Oh, yes. I also remember the days of Bush derangement syndrome.
But the deal, I was on that team at the time. And it didn't strike me as anything. But like in retrospect, and there is no ideology except they don't like not being in power. So the people who are in power must by nature be corrupt. Yep. It's all projection. It's the constant like Clinton body count shit, Biden crime family shit. I just
still can't believe like the Clinton body count is a myth that just isn't gonna die, is it? It's gonna be the zombie myth that kills us all, that outlives us all, isn't it?
It's part of that. There is no real philosophy other than this sort of desire for power and the absolute projection of the fact that whenever the other party is in power, it must be through corruption. Now, I know they level that exact same accusation at the other side, but it doesn't seem to fit for a party that, like, Democrats aren't the one that ones that have won the White House multiple times without actually winning the popular vote. They're not the ones, outside of, I think, one state, and I forget what it is, where they have a advantageous gerrymandering. They're not the ones setting up these, racial gerrymanders in all these different states.
No, they are not, or at least not as often, or at least not to the point, or at least not as often, or not to the point where it becomes obvious that the moment you get a decent congressperson, and God forbid that congressperson's of color, next thing you know, they don't have a district.
And of course, there are the parliamentary tricks that they've done in North Carolina. I can't remember if it was Michigan or Wisconsin, where they strip the governor of powers. The outgoing state Congress will strip the governorship of powers when the other party takes control.
I think that's Kentucky that does that.
Who knows? It could be Kentucky too. I just have a hard time believing all of this. Clinton death count and Biden crime family thing, when all they do is throw accusations with no proof. Trump, on the other hand, is a paper trail leaving machine.
Very much so. And I don't want to step on your point, but so I was right. Ron Johnson did go to Russia on 4th of July.
Of course he did.
Because of course he did. I expect nothing less.
And I say this, I realize I'm nobody from nowhere, and Ron Johnson is an elected member of the Senate. But he is a very intellectually stunted man.
I was going to say challenged, but yes, stunted also falls within the purview. Yeah.
I mean, there's intellectual dishonesty, which you get from the likes of Steve Bannon and,
Glenn Beck
and things like that. But then there's just stupid. And that's where you have the Ron Johnsons, the Louis Gohmerts, James Comer.
Ronnie Jackson.
James Comer is
He's special.
Oh my goodness. We have lost our whistleblower.
How do you lose an entire goddamn whistleblower? That's what I want to know. How the fuck you lose an entire whistleblower? Did you stash him in a closet? Did you the
same one Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott have been stuffed in.
Oh!
And Nick Fuentes and
Nick Fuentes and his cat boys.
And Steven Crowder.
No, Steven Crowder is in a transparent closet. And I'm sorry, as a member of the bisexual community, I need to tell him, we're not answering you on Grindr. We full. We are full, sir. No means no. We don't acknowledge Mr. Crowder. He can acknowledge us when he's good and ready, but we're not acknowledging him. When we see him in the streets, bitch, we don't speak. And that's on Katie Red.
There's the level of projection is
yeah. It's the lost, are they trying to set us up for a supposed lost whistleblower? I feel like they're trying to make it seem a part of the Biden crime family and make us believe that there is somewhere a corpse hidden in the wilds of the Susquehanna Valley.
Maria Bartiromo was already on, Fox News when James Comer said, "We can't find our whistleblower." And Maria Bartiromo was like, "Wow, that's really crazy. I can't believe that. But we'll definitely be following that story."
I keep forgetting she's fourth team Fox. She doesn't go to a salon to get her hair dyed the requisite blonde.
I'm only.
She goes to someone's garage.
I'm only an hour and a half from New York City. I can hear her from fucking here.
All I know is she is fourth tier Fox, and she thinks we can't tell. She doesn't get her hair done. in a salon. She gets her hair done in a fucking garage, and I'm saying that as someone who has had her hair done in a fucking garage.
Do you know how we know, Maria, that you don't matter? Dominion didn't even ask for you to be fired.
Oh, the reeds! You're gonna make me take the fan off You're gonna make me take the fan off the hanger. You're gonna have to make me take the fan off the stand. Like these are good ass reads. You like the law library is open, y'all. The law library is open. Cause I'm sorry, like I don't know what they're expecting. They're trying to create a conspiracy that somewhere in the Susquehanna Valley there is a corpse of a whistleblower with like poisoned ice cream around their mouth.
Well, Marjorie,
I don't know.
Was another one that had some conspiratorial comments about the missing whistleblower, and all I gotta say is yes, Marjorie. The Gazpacho police were on it, and they got rid of your
whistleblower. Listen, maybe she can just check the. No, I will not.
Whistleblower is in the same place as again Steven Crowder's heterosexuality. Vapor never existed.
I don't. Yeah, like I'm like in some Lovecraftian hell dimension that no human has beheld. I don't know.
You know what? Let's pause the politics for a minute.
Okay.
And I'm not doing this because I'm drunk, but it's a special rant that I never get to have. But since you mentioned Lovecraft, let's talk about how much I fucking hate Lovecraft Country for a second. And how
I am mixed feelings about Lovecraft Country, partially because it was such a wonderful concept. It was a wonderful concept. The novel was decent. The novel was decent. I'm ready to break and buy the sequel.
I don't know. The novel, I don't have. It's the show. And the fact that it never met a queer character, it didn't want to kill, beat up, or turn into an evil person.
Like, bruh, it was a hard slog. I wanted to love that show so damn bad.
I tried. I really tried. Episode after episode, it was just, and you can't use the excuse, this was a different time. You know, it wasn't socially acceptable to be gay. You don't have to kill.
Like the Johns Committee had. I want to be like, listen, I'm from Florida. The Johns Committee had living survivors, y'all. The Johns Committee did not kill their gays, merely shoved them out of academia and broke their spirits.
Just like, how many times do they have to get die off camera, get their throat cut, get beaten by a baseball bat, or at least be one of the least likable character? The ones who survived is the least likable character in the entire show. And as much as it had so many great points and great things that people need to know about historically, I feel like it had to shoe in all that anti-gay character fridging.
They had to do it in order to balance out the anvils that needed to be dropped. I think that's what it is. They knew that, and because people know that Lovecraft is a fucking racist, they can't have all the Lovecraft tropes turned on its head immediately. Like, look at the film Color Out of Space. They turned it on its head, and that, spoiler alert, the lone survivor of the film is a black person, but did they make the girl flighty and unpredictable? Fuck yeah, they did. Did they did they make the mayor money yes, the actress who played her was indigenous, but we lose that in translation, and she's a money hungry bitch. Yeah.
And
honestly,
characters who are underrepresented are allowed to be terrible people in fiction, because that's part of a two-dimension,
giving us something. But I just wanted, I guess, another dimension to her bitchiness. I love the actress. I think that actress is amazing. I just wanted more. I wanted a little bit, give me a hint of, she can't just be bitchy because she's a woman and she's a woman and she's indigenous and she has to overcompensate in a white man's world by being an unlikable bitch. Okay. I get that. Believe me, I do. But
the Lovecraft Country was based. I think it was 8 episodes. 7 of them were like, oh man, this is so good. This is
yeah. And
why
then
did they do that?
They do that.
And then there was the other episode, which was the one about Hippolyta, which was perfect. And
I want to just give me Hippolyta. Give me nothing but Hippolyta.
The time traveling adventures of Hippolyta
would have been
Hippolyta across time and space. I will watch it.
I would watch that shit. Like, give me 3 seasons. Give me 3 seasons, 10 episodes each, please.
6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah, give me 6. Give me something, man. Because Hippolyta is iconic. Hippolyta is Black woman in science fiction. Lord knows there's really not a lot of us. Black woman in science fiction. It's, she's a badass. She is utilized.
My favorite character, and I was so happy she got an entire episode to herself.
Like, yeah, I felt like I loved her chapters. Were very interesting in the book. Like, I felt like there was so much that Ruff did not explore with her that I hope we get some answers in the sequel. But I will say, low down, Ruby and the fact that she got to explore whiteness. Like, I would never want to be white, but I understand being dark skinned and then being able to wake up and be like, oh, so this is what it's like.
I remember that. I still remember that bit from Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker saying there is a one-legged busboy in this arena right now, and he wouldn't trade places with me, and I'm rich.
Yeah, let's put it like this. And you can probably rephrase that joke. Meghan Markle could tell that joke. She's like, right now there is a one-eyed ticket taker in this hall that wouldn't trade places with me, and I'm thin.
And now we're back to the royal family. My other favorite thing to shit on.
Listen,
I don't get to shit on like people like Ben Shapiro and Ron Johnson and all the other hypocrites. I love shitting on the royal family. And
all I know is right now, the infighting has begun, and I'm here for it. People are finding themselves on, of all places, Prince Andrew's side because William wants to kick Prince Andrew out of the Royal Lodge just because he wants the Royal Lodge.
Yeah, not because he's a kid diddler.
No, he just wants the Royal Lodge. And I'm like, okay. I mean, honestly, it's not my problem.
The royal family is hateable for so many reasons, but
basically it's like
I can't get over the fact that they gave Andrew a better position at the coronation than Harry, because I mean, while Andrew may have raped children, at least he didn't marry a black woman. I mean, you can't be a royal and do that and get to keep your position at.
Yeah,
and get to
like I said, I'm enjoying Camilla slagging William on the low in the press. I'm enjoying Will slagging Andrew for not for every reason except the one reason he should slag on Andrew. And I'm enjoying this. And the fact that there are still so many countries openly discussing, not just down low discussing, openly discussing leaving the Commonwealth. I honestly believe that by 2045, 2050, I don't think we're going to have a Commonwealth no more.
Sorry, you said Camilla, and I just started thinking of the song for
Mr. Ed. Mr. Ed. Yeah, I mean,
no particular reason.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how she gets the news to the press. I don't know if she stamps them out with her hoof or what.
I suddenly have a need to get some coconuts and just.
She just stamps out her messages to the press with her hoof. Honestly, that's what I feel she does. It's only fair and appropriate. We all needed to get the Camilla joke in because honestly, fuck
She's
Camilla.
A terrible person.
She's a terrible person.
It's hard to stand out as a terrible person in that family.
But somehow she pulls that shit off. I don't know if it's just the diet of sugar cubes and cum or what.
Excuse me. I always got to worry sometimes if my proximity to some of the things you say sometimes is going to get me canceled.
I mean, honestly, it's just, listen, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that, I mean, they did that.
First
some days
her skin is terrible.
And she goes to India like every year for some secret rejuvenating process, which tells me, no, the gods do not like her. She can pray to all of them if she wants to, but ain't none of them listening. They hanging up.
That is what incest does. To actually, come to think about it, I don't know if she's the product of incest, but I mean,
yeah, that's the scary thing about England. She might not be as incesty. She might be the product of the lack of incest.
Actually, speaking of incest, Rudy Giuliani is in the news.
I read parts of the document. I presume you read the whole damn thing.
I am not going to. All I'm going to say is that there are text messages for people who don't know. He has been sued for, I think, $2 million for rape, sexual harassment, and other employment contractual type stuff.
And I don't even think he got the $2 million, to be quite honest.
There's also, allegations that he was selling pardons for Trump.
Yes, I saw that. He was like,
I don't know if you could link Trump to that. It sounds like something Rudy was trying to do on the side.
But without Trump's not for once, I'm going to say I don't think Trump knew that Rudy was up to that. And I think that sounded like some shisty ass Rudy Poo. Sorry, Dwayne. Rudy Poo shit that only Rudy was doing. And Rudy thought he had something, but he didn't have shit, which honestly, that's a lot of things in Rudy's life. Rudy out here doing his own shit, trying to think he doing shit, when in reality he ain't shit.
I mean, there was also his response to the lawsuit was, this is outrageous, as if behavior like that is out of character for someone who is pulling his pants down in Borat 2 and who's famous for marrying his cousin. But also,
what cracks me up is without the moment that shit happened in Borat 2, and he's like, I was just adjusting my microphone. I reached out to an actual retired porn star, and she's like, no, he's not. I know he's not reaching it. He's not adjusting his microphone. That is literally the same position I use when removing my microphone for doing the other part of my job. So, he can lie if he wants to, but I trust this person.
No, I mean, not only it's just the texts that are included, even if those were the only things. There's also, she alleges there are tapes. Lordy, there are tapes.
Wait. We're talking about tapes. Tapes.
Audio tapes of conversations.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to be like,
yeah, no, I could barely even stomach the thought of hearing him say some of the things he's alleged to have said, let alone
seeing. There's sexy New York voices, and then there's Rudy Giuliani. We don't do that here.
I only hear Rudy Giuliani's voice as done by Seth Meyers now.
I try not. All I know is I can only just hear all the networks. Yes, Rudy, all the networks. Now go get your pudding cup before DeSantis gets his fingers in that shit.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry.
My mind's eye is blind. Pig, I'm blind!
I'm sorry. I'm just still can't believe that Italian Americans have progressed to this.
I can't believe that anybody thought he was ever respectable. And basically, it all boils to the fact that he was around on 9/11. He was
in the neighborhood. He was in the neighborhood. Let's put it like this. There's at least like 5 strung out. There are at least 5 strung out sex workers that probably would have done the same, if not slightly better, on 9/11.
People keep talking about like what a downfall it's been, and it's like,
was it really that much of a fall though? I don't think so.
He's always been just the worst.
Man's had scandal like hidden around him. It's just because majority member of white ethnic group in a town famed for its white ethnic groups. I mean, that's basically what we're looking at.
So I don't think there's going to be much to the whole selling pardons thing. It sounds like it's just something he was saying. And even if there was something more to it, from the best of my understanding, it's not illegal on its face to sell pardons. There could be a bribery angle, but that's a pretty novel kind of thing. That would be like the first of its kind of.
And I don't see them actually pulling off the bribery for pardons angle. I think that would be a wild goose chase. I mean, Lord knows those are fun, but those sometimes just end up with a waste of time.
And this is assuming that there's somehow proof that he was doing it at the behest of Trump, which Trump would never be caught on tape or camera
at all
saying we'll sell for pardons. But even if you assume he was, presidents have pardon power, and there's really no limit to that pardon power outside of the fact that it's got to be for federal. There's like the only limits are basically enumerated, and so I don't think there's anything there. But it just goes to show what an absolute creep Rudy Giuliani is. I believe every word of this.
Yeah, I honestly believe every word of this. This is a man who dressed in drag and put Donald Trump's face between his fake tits. Like, fam.
I thought, you know what? I'm not even in the mood to do a whole pointing out their hypocrisy on drag thing anymore. It's good Lord. There's a hospital in Texas or a medical clinic in Texas that let go staff that had been providing gender affirming care for youth, which, by the way, basically amounts to just puberty blockers at that point.
Yeah,
and it basically happens on the lies of people like Ken Paxton, who treat it like it's what they call a social contagion. And to what I said to every time it's like, all right, let me just bring out the graph that shows the increasing incidence of left-handedness once we stopped beating people for
being left-handed, as a left-hander who's the daughter of a left-hander who grew up in a third world country where people were still beating left-handers. Oh, you don't think being in a place where they don't beat left-handers didn't make a difference? I'm gonna tell you right now, the fuck, it abso-fucking-lutely made a difference. And if it abso-fucking-lutely made a difference to a fucking left-hander, what do you think that meant for trans children? It wasn't that people wanted to become lefties. It's just now you could be a lefty in fucking peace.
And that's just it. Their whole point of view, and I know I've said this a million times before, preaching to the choir at this point, but their ideology is based on the idea that there is no such thing as somebody who is naturally LGBTQ. They treat it like it's vampirism, like they're only converts. It doesn't occur naturally. And that's where this nonsense comes from. Like, it's these doctors who are coercing kids or are pressuring them, or teachers are pressuring them, or parents are pressuring them. I have yet to meet even the most supportive parents who are like, yes, I'm so happy you might be questioning your gender. Let me go take you to the doctor right now.
No.
The most supportive parents I've ever seen is basically, if this is how you really feel, we'll take you to a doctor. And the doctor's basically, you're basically put through several years of screening. What Ken Paxton says is some people, these doctors will start prescribing these after one visit. I don't believe
the fuck they will. Let's put it like this. I'm cisgendered. I got my period super crazy, stupid early. Like, I was legally still in elementary school. My parents tossed around the idea of puberty blockers. When they found out all the bullshit they had to do for it, and I'm not, and I'm cisgendered, they're like, nah, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it.
And there's also, the bullshit that Barry Weiss put that article out, this expose from a whistleblower about these doctors who were just handing out puberty blockers like they were candy. And it turned out to be a fucking lie.
Yeah, one of the actual kids stepped up and said, "Bitch, you lie. It's all cap." And I'm sitting here like, almost every other time when it comes to these things, most of these fuckers do not interview the actual trans child involved. They interview the parent that's in denial, the evangelical with a high school degree that thinks they know shit.
Oh my God, that's Matt Walsh, basically. Matt Walsh.
The D-trans person who probably has more frequent flyer miles than the entire Lakers team.
The existence of a person who has detransitioned does not invalidate the entire concept.
But that's what they're digging. That's what they got. And then the physician who is like a dermatologist, but because they got doctor in their name, everybody jumps in her panties.
Yeah, it's like the pediatricians who are anti-vax. Like, you're not a toxinologist, you're not a virologist, you're not,
you're not an immunologist, and nor are you a public health professional. Sit down. But yeah, but they'll ask all these motherfuckers. They won't ask the actual person, "Hey, how you feeling? How you doing? How you living?"
It's like if somebody asked me for my expert opinion on, like, EPA administrative law. I'm like, I do breach of contract. I don't fucking I got nothing.
It's like if I'm in a dungeon and I've got knives and I'm wrapping up a knife play scene and someone asks me about wax. Bitch, you see me with candles? I may occasionally do wax, but tonight ain't my wax night. Go somewhere else.
Matt Walsh, this is part of what Matt Walsh was on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about, how millions of children are being given these things. And even Joe fucking Rogan corrected him and said it was like 4,000 in the last couple of years, children who've been put on puberty blockers. Because
what did Miss Walsh have to say about that?
He barely addressed it. But that's what it is. People like him, people who are proud of their lack of education. Now,
he's also proud to be a hateful shit. So I don't know, man.
I want to be clear too. When I'm saying lack of education, I don't mean to cast aspersion on people who don't have higher education, because I'm well aware of the gatekeeping, the elitism, and all of that. But what I do mean is people who don't actually have the expertise putting themselves out there as against the weight of all the actual experts, as if their common sense trumps it because, well, it's just common sense.
Isaac Asimov did not lie. Asimov did not lie.
It's like when people say, sex is just X and Y chromosomes. We learned that in 4th grade. I'm like, what you learn in 4th grade is a framework, scaffolding upon which to build greater knowledge, because it isn't just XY. There's XXY. There's XXX. There's all sorts of variations there, and that's not even including differences in hormones. There's like Sex is defined by secondary characteristics, primary characteristics, there's psychological aspects, there's cultural aspects. We're not going to get into it, but I will say you sound like an asshole when you go, oh, it's just X, Y. It's like when someone says, economics is just simple supply and demand.
No, it's not.
You took the thing you learned on the first couple of weeks of that one class in a lower level of education, and you think that you have it all mastered, but you basically took this basic scaffolding and think you know how the entire fucking building is laid out, and you don't. And that's the Matt Walshes of the world, the Ken Patches of the world.
You got people running around thinking because they know one column tie they know shibari. Bitch, sit down. And you don't.
And I do want to be clear. I don't think you can't be an expert unless you get an education. There are plenty of people who have become incredible experts in many fields without getting the basically prescripted education through the system we have now. It's not a matter of that. But if like 99 to 100% of the actual experts who have trained, been educated, and practiced in this field say the opposite of what you, someone who doesn't have that experience, says, but you know better than them, you're just fucking wrong. Because Matt Walsh said in one of his pieces, in one of his speeches, when someone challenged him, when talked about all these experts in this field, his response was basically said, well, they're full of shit. Well, you know better, you with your nigh 0 hours of expertise, who thought that millions of kids were getting puberty blockers when it was 4,000. They feel like it's true, so it is true. They make it up. Just like Ken Paxton is making up this idea that there are doctors throwing out puberty blockers like candy. And like just
like how Ron DeSantis initially told everybody, no, I'm doing all this because I want parents to have a choice. And now it's turned out that he's trying to restrict, that he's trying to make education harder for adults.
I mean, it's always about, the principle is supremacy over outgroups. And then all other sub-principles to that are just useful as long as they work, but they get thrown out of the window before. See, it's federalism when they want to overturn Roe. Except once Roe is overturned, now it's about, no, there shouldn't be abortions.
Yeah, I mean, now it's about individual states and their various ways of outlawing it with weasel language.
And it's the same thing with anti-transgender laws, because they start by saying it's about protecting kids until you get a state like Missouri where it's basically like, nah, you doesn't matter what age you are, you can't get it.
You're not getting or like in Florida where doctors now are saying, you participate in a lifestyle I don't agree with, I'm not treating you. I don't know how long that shit gonna last, but okay.
I mean, this dog whistle is deafening. It is it's no longer a whistle. It's basically just full on barking. And
it's honestly, I mean, then again, dispatches from Hell World. I mean,
part of it, they love couching this idea in protecting people, because protecting people is palatable. So they like to say these things are about protecting people. So when people are arguing against the idea of expanding the death penalty in Florida to non-murders, which we're all just challenging settled Supreme Court precedent at this point.
At this point, yeah.
Overturned by the
especially with this court.
Yeah. So, but it's been settled for decades upon decades that the death penalty is exclusive to murder cases. Well, Ron DeSantis wants to expand it to, people who commit sexual assault on children, which to the part of the brain that loves vengeance and the idea of punishment, it's got to feel good, right? I mean, I don't want, in that part of my brain, I don't want sexual predators and people who prey on children to be alive. Who does? But that's not
nobody.
That's not the actual point. Because when you put it with the history, and we have a very long history of wrongful convictions.
Oh, God, do we?
From all the way to the beginning to today. It's not like it's gotten better. Even with DNA evidence, it's not like it's gotten better.
Oh, God, no. Because then they come into weird shit like bite mark evidence. I love forensic files. I love forensic files, but Lord knows that bite mark bullshit just be like.
By the way, a great book for everyone to read would be the County Dentist and the Cadaver King by Radley Balko. But that's besides the point. Expanding the death penalty to things other than murder, along with, which is unconstitutional, but it's going to get flipped, along with expanding death penalty sentences to split 8-4
juries,
which again is against Supreme Court's precedent, but we're just throwing everything we can. It's been done before, and there's a reason it's been done before, and it's been done to a very specific subset of people before. Because how long before it isn't just, well, I mean, come on, there's other crimes besides sexual assault of children that people deserve to die for. What could they be? Or maybe they don't even have to expand it. It's really easy to find patsies. The police have been doing it for a long time.
They're good at it.
All you got to find is someone,
and they're good at it.
Yeah. All you got to find is someone who said, is willing to say, that one whistled at me. And
confidential informant.
Yes. You get people caught up, you sweat them, they don't speak English, you get a false confession out of them, and sooner or later, if they don't get executed, they spend 30 years behind bars.
Good time.
But it's a lot easier to execute them when the decision can now be 8-4.
8-4. And with the way, and with voting becoming harder, especially if you're not white, especially if you are a return felon. Good luck getting on a jury in Florida. That shit ain't happening. Like, theoretically, if these things pass, a drag queen crossing the street in Wilton Manors to make her gig could, and she falls and her skirt flies up, she could theoretically get the death penalty with the right jury.
They'll just call it sexual predation because that's what they want. There's also the fact that a drag queen crossing the street could scare somebody and they might be forced to choke the drag queen to death. And then Ron DeSantis will say that this person deserves to be free because they're protecting everybody on the street. And then they'll get $2 million in their GoFundMe.
Yeah, basically, at this point, when I look at this state, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I was born here. Short of a really good offer involving a fuck ton of money, I'm not fucking going anywhere. So, but despite the fact I'm not going anywhere, I don't recommend this place to anyone at all. This place is it's like a Jamaican restaurant on a Sunday morning. Like, you come in and you say, well, gender studies. Can I do that? When I have that. What about Latin studies? Hispanic studies? When I have that. Black studies. African American studies. When I have that. Basically, and the sad thing is they don't even have like the oxtail and the one thing of rice in the back.
Well, they don't have oxtail because white people suddenly decided that's the coolest thing in the world, and now it went from being 99 cents a pound to $6.99 a pound.
And I am not forgiving any of y'all hipsters for that shit, period. But at this point, with the most recent things like the cuts to DEI, which, depending on the college, could be teased out. If I were a recruit to U of F, I would be letting Ben Sass know I ain't coming.
I really hope that, and I feel bad for the teachers and professors who are stuck in the middle.
And there are professors who are losing they're not just at New College. There are professors who realize that their contracts will probably not be renewed. There are professors who realize that their curriculums may be subject to state scrutiny, like it's the goddamn 1940s, and they got to answer to the NKVD. Like they got to find their own. Like we're gonna have our own Brezhnev.
I just I don't want to put teachers and professors in a position that will have them lose their jobs, but I really think there needs to be a form of economic warfare against Florida in this, where people who would otherwise be going to Florida as incoming students pull themselves from Florida schools. And
I've said this repeatedly. This is the time to enact the brain drain. If you are a Florida student and you fuck the full ride to UCF, fuck the full ride to USF, UNF, FSU, fuck the full rides, fuck even the partial rides. U of M as University of Miami right now is private and secular. Good luck. Or go or leave. He talks shit, like DeSantis talks shit about Berkeley, which I find hilarious because that man went to an Ivy League school. Ivy League and you shitting on Berkeley? Okay, Ronald Dion, we see you. Listen.
I thought his middle name was Ensure.
But
No, it was Ronald Ensure DeClantis.
Like, listen. All I gotta say is, if you support Ron DeSantis, I don't want to fucking hear you get mad when I or anyone else call you a racist, because as long as this man keeps doing shit racist like, what option am I left with?
What was it Andrew Gillum said at the debate?
If it walked, he's not.
Hit dog hollers.
Hit dogs holler. And the fact that he tried to go after Gillum but couldn't land a punch on him.
Yeah, that's another loss from the Republicans. All charges dismissed.
They could not put a punch on this man. I honestly do believe he was set up in that hotel, that it's entirely possible he was set up in his hotel room. People knew he was bisexual and he kept that on the low, but till somebody made an offer he couldn't refuse. And that is a thing that can happen. His wife didn't leave him, so that tells me that she knew the entire time what she was getting into. And honestly, right now, also with the fact that it appears that Jacksonville may have flipped blue, maybe people are getting wise. Or maybe people are looking at the empty construction sites. Maybe people are looking at the fruit rotting in the fields.
Meanwhile, he's sending 1,000 Florida law enforcement officers to the Texas border.
Well, hey, at least they're not here. Listen, if a black dude gets to walk home tonight without being harassed or pulled, if a black woman gets to drive home without being sexually harassed, if a trans sex worker manages to make her date safely and return home without being harassed, beaten, or raped by the cops, then stay in Texas, bitches.
If you're in Texas and you've got the privilege and the money to be able to get out of whatever ticket or arrest is going to happen if you do this, I hope someone has the balls if they get pulled over by a cop in Texas near the border this weekend to go, wait, if you're here, who's beating your wife?
40%, bitches, 40%. It is a thing. Please understand, there is a reason I don't date cops. I learned that lesson once. Don't do it, fam. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Oh my gosh. So
it's not.
I want to talk about something. Our next episode is going to be the 23rd, and that'll be the last episode before Henry Kissinger turns 100.
Oh, and I guess I got to start doing my readings on Kissinger, huh?
I really, unless something, most of politics, since Trump has been out of office, is a lot more same old like it used to be. Yeah. And I don't mean that as a good thing. It's just, it's nightmare after nightmare. But when Trump was in office, it was unpredictable and all news was fucking breaking all the time.
All the time.
Next week, unless something drastic changes, like we find out charges have been filed in Georgia or, whatever.
We ain't seeing charges before September.
I do want to spend, if not a whole episode, then a significant portion of next episode talking about the most horrible things about Henry Kissinger and why I'm praying, if Jimmy Carter isn't in pain, if he's got a reasonably good quality of life right now, Jimmy, I want you to
hold on, Jimmy. Even if it's for 6 weeks.
Because
even if it's for 6 weeks.
If Kissinger had to outlive Harry Belafonte, then we can't also lose Jimmy Carter beforehand. Because if we lose Belafonte and Carter before Kissinger,
that's not fair to anybody.
It's very clear that there is no God.
It's not fair to anybody to have, they got to give us something. We need something. First of all, I already questioned the existence of a benevolent, loving God when Diana died, and then Charles decided to put a ring on that hoof. Now I'm supposed to exist in a world where one of the most iconic Jamaican American songwriter, singer, actors, activists, and we do mean activists, departs the earth before the butcher of Cambodia? What the fuck?
At least, and you know what? I'll give you this. God, if you do exist, if you're not going to take Kissinger before Carter, then give Dick Cheney his last heart attack.
Yeah. That's a consolation prize I can live with.
Well, I mean, maybe you can't get the biggest of all war criminals, but you can get another pretty big whale. Just harpoon him right through his artificial heart and just.
I mean, honestly, there's a journalist I follow who is counting the days till her final donor heart conks out. Yeah. It's a rough read. Her donor heart is fading. And here she is, her donor heart is fading. And Cheney, it's enough to make you do a Kobe lime right there.
I don't know how he does that face with it.
It's the tight.
I can kind of.
Maybe you got to go back to Italy and spend a couple weeks. And maybe it's an Afro-Italian thing that we don't know. I'm gonna assume it's a magical Afro-Italian thing.
Yeah, he just became a citizen just in time for the fascists to come back.
This man, he was working in a factory, just making TikToks about, really? This is all you doing? and made crap tons of money, enough to presumably buy his citizenship. Let's not play games. That's probably what happened. And now we got and now Italy's got fascists again.
Look, you tried this before.
Like, y'all tried this before, and the fascists were a lot more fashionable then. I saw Titus. Y'all were fashionable. The fascists were fashionable as fuck. Now y'all got like his granddaughter, who, I mean, she's okay, but whatever.
I love living in a world where you can just say, hey, Jim Carrey's gotten in a fight with Mussolini's granddaughter. What? That's just as dumb as like years ago. It was like, if you had told me in the 90s, hey, do you know that in like 25 years, Axl Rose is going to be getting into a public feud with the Secretary of the Treasury? You'd be like, why?
All I know is that 600 years ago, I would be drawn and quartered for roasting Edward Habsburg about his chin. But I did that shit, and I lived it, and I loved it.
There are still
I would be drawn and quartered for what I said to that man.
There are still a few Habsburgs around.
Yeah, you can tell by the chin. I said what I said. It took a long time to undo all that inbreeding. More inbreeding than the fucking royal family of England. Shit's crazy. Them family tree was the Olympic rings. I'm sorry. He asked us to name something very prompt. I'm like, bitch, you don't ask us this. This is Twitter. We are going to roast you. And I am going to roast you with the one thing that I know, you know, that I know, that you know. I took 2 European history classes. You know what I'm about to tell you, sir.
They were Giuliani before Giuliani.
Basically, like, sir, you got at least 5 grandma sister aunts in your lineage.
Oh man!
No, but he's a really cool guy. I follow him. He's cool. He's Catholic. He you know. I can't really expect less. And the honest truth is, the fact that I know that I would have been drawn, quartered, hung, and basically told I'm going to hell for what I said to them and the fact that I said it and I love this modern world sometimes. Sometimes I love that shit.
Well, with that, we're going to end the show tonight. We've already mentioned that Henry Kissinger is somehow still alive. Hope you die between now and next week.
Couldn't hurt.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.